Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Motivational Monday where each one teach one. Thank you for joining in today guys. How was your weekend? Hope you're fine. I have Philia here. Let me bring her on. Philia? Philia?
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Okay,
here.
I'm not seeing you. Okay, I'm seeing you now.
Hello.
Yeah, hold 1 second.
Okay.
Well, it have three of us, but that's fine.
Okay.
So let's open up with a prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for guiding us and protecting us to see a new week, dear Lord. Oh, Father God, we ask you to bless each and every one that is on live right now with us. Guide them and protect them in no other name, but in Jesus' name we pray. Amen and
A-
amen.
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 So, if you're celebrating a birthday today, I want to say happy
Happy
birthday. I want to say
birthday.
happy belated birthday to Wendy H. Lewis, to Carlene Granger. Today's my niece Crystal birthday. Happy birthday, Chrissy. Your auntie loves you. Crosby. And if I forget anybody, we apologize. All right. So, Philia, do you have a word of the week for me?
I do. The word of the week is limpid. Limpid. Limpid describes things that are perfectly transparent or clear or that are simple in style. Limpid.
Oh, limpid. So, how was your weekend, Philly?
My weekend was good. I actually feel like I'm coming along with my move. Of course, I wanted everything to be perfect before my girls came from California, but I have to realize that everything in stride, Rome was not built in a day, and I can't overwhelm myself. Just
That's
can't help it.
correct.
So they're here, and it's just great. Yeah, it's great to have them. As I said, I think there's beauty in the flaws, and just knowing that you got to take things in stride. So that's what we're doing now. But thank you for
Okay.
asking. And how about yourself?
Oh, mine was good so far. We just want to let you guys know
Awesome.
to share the page, guys. Share the page, all right? So I have a health tip for you guys today, and we're going to talk a little bit about COPD. Chronic observatory pulmonary disease is a chronic inflammation lung disease that causes obstruct airflow from the lungs. Symptoms include breathing difficulty, cough, mucus production, and wheezing. It's typically caused by long term exposure to irritating gases of particulate matter, most often from cigarette smoke. People with COPD are at increased risks of developing heart disease, lung cancer, and a variety of other conditions. The two most common conditions that contribute to COPD usually occur together can vary in severity among individuals. Chronic bronchitis is inflammation of the lining of the bronchial tubes, which carry air to and from air sacs of the lungs. It's categorized by daily cough and mucus spectrum production. Emphysema is a condition in which the alveoli at the end of the smallest air passage of the lung are destroyed as a result of damaging exposure to cigarette smokes and other irritating gases and particulate matter. Signs of COPD: shortness of breath, especially during the physical activity, wheezing, chest tightness, a chronic cough that may produce mucus that may be clear, white, yellow, or greenish, frequent respiratory infection, lack of energy, unintended weight loss, swelling in the ankle or feet. Now, guys, we are not doctors. We're reading from Google. If you have any signs of COPD, see a doctor. So I want to say we have our therapist tonight, Mr. Learie Callender, joining us. And we are going to talk today a bit about forgiveness and living in the present. So, Philia, would you do me the honors of reading the bio? Unmute. Philia, unmute. Okay, go ahead and read the bio. Philia?
Okay, yes, I hear you. I apologize. Thank you. Yes, okay. So we have Mr. Learie Callender, has been a therapist for over 36 years. He says that it takes courage to ask people, and he has worked in numerous settings in New York, Florida, Trinidad, and Tobago. He obtained a bachelor's and a master's degree at Adelphi University in Long Island, New York. It is his pleasure to help people find solutions to their interpersonal issues, and he truly believes that all issues have a solution. So, welcome and thank you so much for being here, Mr. Calendar.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
And we just want to shout out Anthony, Leslie, Shawnette, Marina. Thank you guys for logging in. Send your questions if you have any pounding questions. We have Larry here, so we can, get the expert to answer any questions that you guys may need. So, Larry, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I want to begin with forgiveness, what it is and what it isn't. Forgiveness is a process where someone who has been wrong chooses to let go of their resentment and treat the wrongdoer with compassion.
Mm,
Okay. Forgiveness basically is not forgetting or condoning the wrongdoing, granting legal mercy, or reconciling a relationship. You can forgive a person while in no way believing that that their actions are acceptable or justified. On the other hand, simply saying the words, I forgive you, or accepting an apology is not forgiveness. In fact, forgiveness can occur without ever speaking to the wrongdoer.
mm,
Forgiveness is an emotional change that occurs within the person who has been wronged. So, a lot of times people think because I say I forgive you, that's forgiveness. Forgiveness has four phases. The
okay.
first phase of forgiveness is the uncovering phase. Basically, during the first phase of forgiveness, you will improve your understanding of the injustice and how it has impacted your life.
Right.
This is considered the uncovering phase. So a lot of times, someone does something wrong to you, and and you feel, okay, how has that impacted your life? And you know, and you want to go through the process of forgiveness. You have to understand that how the wrongdoing that was kind of done to you, how has that impacted your life. The
Right.
second phase is the decision phase. During the second phase, you will gain a deeper understanding of what forgiveness is. Usually, within that second phase, you will make a decision whether to choose or reject forgiveness as an option. You know,
Right.
because a lot of times, you get a deeper understanding on why the injustice was done to you. But sometimes during that phase, you'll say, you know what, I am not ready to forgive this yet.
Right.
Because a lot of times, you hold on to those emotions. Okay.
So let me
And
ask you a question.
so,
Why is it so hard for us not to forgive people? And especially when they hurt us,
yeah.
it is very difficult for that forgiveness to come. Eventually, I guess we may get there, but at the
Mhm.
point when they hurt us, it's just an open wound.
Yeah, and exactly because a lot of times, why it's an open one? Because we think we are letting the person off too easily. You know, a lot of times, when you're hurt, especially it depends on your level of the relationship you have with the individual or the individuals who have hurt you. Sometimes it's difficult to let that go because you think, okay, if you let it go so easily, you're basically letting them off the hook.
Right.
And so that way, they're going to continue to hurt you. And sometimes it's all about your ego too. You don't want to let go, you don't want to
Right.
forgive because the
Right.
pain is real.
Right.
you know and it all depends on what is done at that time. And that you hold on to that pain. This person should not have done that to me. This person, we were good friends. We were, I mean, in a marriage, we were in a relationship and things are done. So it's not easy to let go of that emotion, because, forgiveness is one of the most important dynamic any individual could really possess in their life,
Mm,
forgiveness and compassion. That doesn't come from man really, that comes from God,
right. So
So
is it good to forgive and not forget? Or how do we go about that?
well, again, you can forgive without forgetting. A lot of times you can think about, what has happened to you, but when you let go of the emotion that is negatively impacting you, because a lot of times when we're holding on to the anger or
Right,
the dynamics of what somebody has done to us,
right.
we are the one holding on to it. Though sometimes these people, they move on with their lives, you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and we hold on to that kind of negative, impactful feeling, and you don't want to let it go because it's you're holding on to it, and while the other person is moving on with their lives. So in order for you to kind of free people from your mind and not hold on to those type of emotions, you have to let go of the emotions. What I mean? And that's why you go into the work phase, because
Right.
during the work phase, you will start to understand why the person who offended you did what they did, and you're going
Right.
to look at the dynamics in a new way. You would allow positive feelings towards the offender and yourself.
Right.
Because if you're holding on to the negative feeling in the work phase, I mean, you're going to still come to the decision where you don't want to forget.
So you say we have four phases. Could
Four
you repeat
phases.
number one?
Number one is the uncovering phase.
Uncovering phase.
Yes.
Okay. Number two,
Number two is the decision phase.
the decision phase.
Mhm.
And number three,
The work phase.
the work phase. And number four,
And during the last, it's called the deepening phase.
mm,
During the final phase of forgiveness, you will further decrease the negative emotions associated with the injustice, and you may find meaning in the experiences and recognize ways in which you have grown as a result. Because a lot of times when you forgive, you grow as an individual, emotionally grow as an individual.
right.
You know.
Understand. Philia, you have any questions by the time I type this out here?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So thank you for mentioning those phases, because I think that in not even knowing specifically what those phases were, I remember when I always talk about, just being really happy and being in a relationship that's not toxic, that, we
Right.
can communicate well, and
Mhm.
even in disagreements, we have a lot of more social emotional intelligence. But in my
Mhm.
past relationship, I remember there were times where I felt like my partner was, unfaithful, but I never
Mhm.
really wanted to know the real truth, because I knew that if I did, I would have to uncover more and peel
Right.
back those layers, and that will
Exactly.
make it more self reflective. So when people
Mhm.
used to be like, don't you want to know, or don't you
Mhm.
want to look in his phone, or don't, I said
Mhm.
no, because one, seek you shall find. And two,
Yep.
if I know something, I have to do something about it, because
Mhm.
now I'm going to be burdened with that information while
Yeah.
he lives his merry life. I'm going
Mhm.
to now be burdened with this hurt and this. So I'd rather not. So it's okay.
Mhm.
I'm going to almost ignore and let it be. But when I'm ready to
Mhm.
do something about it, then I'm ready to attack all of these things. So it's
Yeah.
interesting where you talk about those phases, because that's exactly what that forgiveness is. It's like
Yeah.
once you uncover it, then you
Mhm.
have to make a decision about it. And that
Mhm.
decision sometimes is the hard work. It's like,
Mhm.
are you going to leave? Are you going to stay and make it work? Are you
Yeah.
going to love this person from afar, or are you going to cut
Mhm.
them off? Like that's
Right.
hard when, yeah. So thank you
Yeah.
for mentioning that. I think that's
Okay.
something we really need to look into. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because I mean, again, there are different areas of our lives where we learn to forgive people. But in terms of doing this type of work, before I came on the current platform that I'm working on, I worked with people who committed severe crimes.
Right.
And imagine that someone takes away your loved one, or someone
Right.
basically sodomize one of your kids,
Yeah.
or you get up in a fight with a friend and you accidentally kill that person,
Hmm.
and you have to do time. How do you find a way to forgive, to move on?
Right. How? Because I know that is very difficult for some people
Yep.
to go,
Yep.
especially to know that you took away a loved one, or we have something so dear to us
Yeah.
that in a blink of an eye it's gone.
Yeah. Yep.
But for me, what I think forgiveness is, if Christ died on the cross for us
Right.
and he forgive the murderer, who is
Right.
we as human beings that
Yeah.
cannot forgive others. That's how I do it. So I
And
forgive a
and
lot.
that's why it's the process, and that's why it's not just using the words "I forgive you." You know what I mean? It's basically going through the phases and getting to the last stage of forgiveness, a deeper understanding why this dynamic took place in your life. I've done it with pedophiles, I've done it with murderers, I've done it with people who have been raped, I've done it with in couples therapy. I've even done it with myself, because at the end of the day, we all make mistakes.
Right.
And
Like Dennis saying, I agree with the last phase, and after you go through these
yeah.
phases, the feeling of relief will be great.
Exactly. The relief becomes yours, because a lot of times we think that if we let go of these emotions, somehow we are strengthening the people, but you're not strengthening the people who offend you. You're
Right.
strengthening yourself. You're getting a
Self.
deeper understanding, you know.
Right.
Because
Right.
imagine holding on to, okay, like Phyllis said, I mean, imagine holding on to dynamics of a past relationship, okay?
Right.
And you moved on in your life, you're doing new things, but you're still holding on to animosity to someone who did something to you. I know I've hurt people in my life, okay? And
Right.
the fact is that you want to hurt, you want that forgiveness from the people that you hurt, whether they gave it to you, that's okay. But at the end of the day, sometimes you have to forgive yourself. You have to
Right.
forgive yourself for some of the mistakes that you made in your life, that you think that you're holding on to, and is just making you angry at individuals. Because a lot of times forgiveness and anger sometimes goes hand in hand, because a lot of times the reason why you're not forgiving is because you're angry. Because a lot of times we say, okay, and we are angry at someone. What we are really saying is that we are allowing people to make us angry.
Right.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the emotions is yours.
So, what techniques you can give us today to be better people
Yeah.
on forgiving?
Okay. Well,
Because I
first,
know we have someone out there
yeah.
who probably is going through, some kind of difficulty, and
Mm-hmm.
it may be hard for them. Maybe it's a burden they're crying on for years.
Mm-hmm.
And, how should they approach it in 2024 when life is short? We see what
Yeah.
COVID had, and a lot of people not with us today. So, how
Right.
could we move on in a better space?
By
Right.
following these
Good
phases,
question.
by I talk about living in the present moment.
Yes.
You have to live in the present
Mm-hmm.
moment of your life. You can relive yesterday.
Yes.
Phyllis, when something happened to you yesterday, yesterday was Sunday.
Yes.
That time is gone.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
know, Today is Monday. Okay. Today is
Yeah.
Monday, let's say 8/21. Okay. So if you're focusing on living in this moment and being introspective in your life and saying, you know what, this person did this stuff to me, but how much of an impact is it having on my life? Okay. When you're going through that uncovering phase, how much of an impact what was done to me is happening in my life? Okay. Wasn't I able to get up this morning because God gave us grace?
Right.
What I mean? Because that's the first thing we should be thankful for every single day when you wake up, is the fact that you can breathe and God is giving you life. So
Right.
the fact that once you have life, you have the ability to forgive. So once you're living in
Right.
the present moment and
Right.
not constantly ruminating negatively about what happened in the past, you're
Right.
going to be able to move on and be a little more progressive in your thinking and let go of those emotions that you're holding on to, because the only person that is doing damage to, it's you.
It's
Yeah.
you. Got you.
Because I know Philia too, time and
Mm-hmm.
time she talk about the abusive uncle
Yeah.
in
Mm-hmm.
childhood, and
Hmm.
she knew the father knew but never get a
Did
chance
anything.
to get
Right.
closure, and
Yeah.
he passed away. And I
Yeah.
know she have been suffering at the age of 50 now.
Hmm.
Maybe she
Mm-hmm.
still have some things on the line there.
Residual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
Yep.
know?
And
Absolutely.
because exactly, because you're not letting go of, you're not letting go of the emotions, because sometimes the
Right.
person is dead and gone. You know what I
Right.
mean? and you're still holding on to those negative emotions. And all that does is has a negative impact on your life. And
Right.
sometimes it plays into your present living because a
Right.
lot of times you're getting angry at other people who have nothing to do with your situation.
Right.
And
You're very
you're just exposing those emotions onto them, whereby you have to realize that you're living today. This is what you're doing for your life presently, and look at the strengths that you have. And so, in terms of when you're living in the present and constantly living in the present, that's all you have control over.
Mm.
If you're rooming negatively about the past, you're going to be anxious in the present. If you're projecting negatively about your future, you're going to be anxious in the present. So, what does that tell you? You
let
have
it.
to basically let it go and live in the present moment. Living in
Right.
the present is the most essential thing we could do with our lives.
All
That's
right.
beautiful advice. I
Mhm,
wanted to reiterate what Phyllis was mentioning, because that
mhm,
whole idea of the forgiveness and living in the present.
mhm,
I know that when I mentioned, being abused by a family member of mine, and
mhm,
knowing that my parents knew, and
mhm,
knowing that they love me, but just how they love me, for me,
mhm.
was an issue, because I'm sure, they will always say that I will do anything, I will die for you. But then
Right.
when faced with adversities to actually do something, like you said, make a decision,
Mhm.
they were crippled.
Yeah.
So they just let it rock. And it's
Yeah.
like I had to protect myself in shutting down, or whatever
Mhm,
coping mechanisms, whether it
mhm,
was to become a person who was hard on the outside and not let
mhm,
people in.
mhm.
Also, it affected the way I dealt with men in my life,
Exactly.
dealing with men in the way where I let them just get away with it because I know I can't do anything about it,
Right.
that type of stuff. So even
Yeah.
at 51,
Mhm.
although I feel like I've come a long way, I still have those residual issues in the
Mhm.
way I deal with people, because
Yeah.
I feel like the people who were supposed to protect me did not,
Exactly.
so I'm overprotective of my own children because of
Mhm.
it. Like, I sometimes don't let them just be kids, because I'm
Right.
like, well, I don't want, don't play with your brother like that. Don't play with
Right.
your uncle like that. Don't play with your,
Yeah.
it's like, sometimes I just want them to be free, but it's so hard for me because I knew that when I was free, someone
Yeah.
took advantage of me.
Exactly.
So learning to live in the present is, for me, saying, okay, I'm not necessarily, obviously I'm not going to forget those things,
Right.
but I have to realize it's not the same period.
Right.
I
Mhm.
have the ability to break these generational curses. I
Mhm.
have the ability to affect the change that I'm going through now.
Yes.
And just kind of it, as I said, if I'm constantly present, then I'm no longer focusing on that past.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, and I don't know how much work you have done, I
Hmm.
mean, with yourself or with a professional, because a lot of times you end up having these guarded type of feelings. But
Hmm.
again, when you confront, I mean, abuse, because a lot of times it all depends, especially within our West Indian culture, abuse is something that is hidden. I mean, because a lot of times people think it brings shame
Yeah.
and
Right.
I mean shame to the family unit,
Family.
and they don't
Right.
know how to deal with it.
Right.
And but all you know is that you're a child, and you're young, and you should have been protected, because that's
Yeah.
what we expect from our parents, to protect us.
Right.
But a lot of times, I mean, these things become generational because no one knows, and they confront it, they hide it, they suppress it, and what happens?
Hmm.
The person who's being abused end up having to deal with all these issues.
Right.
Right.
So you become guarded, you move through life, and sometimes you're not able to be the true you because you're not letting go of some of these emotions.
Right.
Right.
So
And
Marina is saying, perhaps you can describe each phase in a little more depth.
okay,
And before you do that, I want to just read what Lesbian said.
yeah,
It's one thing to speak about forgiveness. It's easier said than done, but
yeah,
the hurt of one feels will take time to pass, but you
yeah,
have to be the stronger or bigger person. Silence has volume. It's better to focus on the things you want in life, and daily things fall into place.
yeah,
Marina is saying some people don't go through each of these phases in the consecutive order. It
yeah.
creates anxiety and adds more to your plate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Tigress is saying in West Indian culture, abuse is hidden and we don't believe in therapy.
Right.
And one more, Leslie is saying, I agree, sometimes we may move forward. It doesn't mean that we have forgotten what has happened to us
Yeah,
in the past, but as much as we are adults,
yeah,
to stand firm for what we know to be right, especially if it affects our family or children.
Yep.
Okay, so go ahead now with the first one where Marina would like you to go in a little depth of each one of them.
Okay, sure. Because during the first phase, which is the uncovering phase, you know, you will improve the understanding of your injustice. As you know, the comments that were just made, as I guess Leslie was saying, it's not easy. Okay,
Yes,
it's not easy admitting that, or trying to understand why, someone, did something wrong, to you when you didn't do anything wrong, with them. And so, you have to kind of decide, okay, how have this impacted my life? Okay, because sometimes people do things that could hurt you physically,
right.
that could hurt you emotionally,
Mm,
that could hurt you mentally. If you're abused, that brings about a lot of self doubt. It brings
right.
about a lot of shame, Elizabeth. It brings about a lot of guilt.
Yes,
Sometimes you end up blaming yourself and saying, okay, did I create this? It's almost like, you know, blaming, becoming this victim. That, these things were done to you. But when you're an adult, people make mistakes.
right.
Okay. And sometimes people say things about you that are not true.
Correct.
They try to
Thank
discredit,
you.
yeah, they try to discredit, who you are. So you feel hurt, man. Sometimes, we take people for friends or, lovers or whatever, and, and your family, and you can't believe that these people are not standing up for you when they should, or they continue to abuse you when you have no reason
Right.
to be abused. Imagine being kind to people, okay? You're a
Hmm,
kind person, okay? And you're constantly being kind to people. And all of a sudden, your kindness is being kind of used against you.
hmm. Say it again.
you know, and basically people that's saying things and doing to you, it hurts. So doing that in covering face, you're trying to understand why do these dynamics hurt so much?
Yes.
Because your character is being attacked.
Thank you.
You as an individual are being attacked. So of course, at that time when you're trying to uncover that, you know, you go through doubt. And what you do is usually fight or flight. Do I fight to stay in this type of relationships, or do I move away
Mm-hmm.
so I could give myself some mental peace? You know,
Right.
and a lot of times what we do is that we move away
Yeah.
because you can understand in that phase why this is being done, so you move away, and it's not easy. This I'm going through the four phases, but that doesn't mean because I'm going through the four phases, this is what happens. Some people forget quickly.
Right.
Some people never forget. But these are the phases that you have to go through if you truly want to forgive. You have to kind of sit and think about it, and sometimes we don't even want to do that because you say, why are we giving these people our thought power over our thought process?
Yeah.
When you know that they don't deserve it, because a lot of times when people do us wrong, we don't want to forget because they think, okay, they don't deserve our forgiveness,
Right.
they don't deserve our grace. But if and this has nothing to do with religion, but if you understand spirituality, you know as you mentioned before, Christ died for us because he wanted to give us grace. So if imagine all of the things that we do in this world and we are still forgiven, but we as human beings who are basically, we don't want to give up, forgive people too quickly because sometimes a lot of times we think we are righteous more than them. We didn't do anything wrong, so we're not going to let them off the hook.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we're going to say, to hell with it. I'm not forgiving. I'm not going through that work to forgive them because it's work. A
Yeah.
lot of times, a lot of people that I work with, some people, I've been working with people 2 years, longer than 2 years and stuff like that, and they don't let go because
Right.
it's a process. I'm not saying this is something that happens instantly. It's a
Right.
process. I know we live in a world with instant gratification. We want instant gratification, but the process of forgiveness takes time.
Yeah. Marina is saying some go back and forth between the phases. You
Yes.
know.
Yeah. You do, because sometimes say, should I give them a chance? Should I let go of this? No, to hell with them. You know what I mean? They're talking about me this way. They're doing this thing. I don't want to see them. I don't want
Right.
to hear them. I don't want
Right.
to be around them. But
Yes.
once that's not impacting you negatively, then you go through the phases until you can reach that point. And again, some people never reach that point. I don't want to think that everybody could go through this phase
Right.
and they're gonna say, I'm ready to
Okay.
forget. Some people don't let go. All I'm saying is that when you're holding on to negative emotions about people, you're doing more for the service to yourself than to the people that you're holding on to these negative emotions for.
Thank you very much.
And it takes time.
Yes.
So, and going through this the decision phase, you know, you will get a deeper understanding of what forgiveness is. As I said, forgiveness is letting go of negative emotions. Simply put, you know. And when you can let go of those in the negative emotions, it makes you feel better as a human being. You're not carrying people with you. You know what I mean?
Mm.
We are living in a time where rents are too expensive. You don't want people renting too much space in your thought process.
I like that one. You don't want people renting in your thought process.
Process. Because
Yes.
everything that we do is that we think, we think on a daily basis. We think about life, but if you're constantly thinking about other people, what room are you leaving for yourself to
Right.
think about progression, what you can do for yourself, how you can let go of these negative people? Because our brain is like a magnet. If you're constantly thinking negatively, that's how you're going to behave, and that's the results you're going to get. If
Right.
you're thinking positively, you're going to say, what, these people, they're not worth it. I'm
Right.
going to let them go, and I'm going to find ways to move on in my life in a very positive way. But it takes work. You go through these phases all the time. It takes
Right.
work. And as I said, forgiveness and compassion is two of the best dynamics any human being can really attain in their life. Because with forgiveness comes some compassion. You have to be compassionate sometimes to forgive.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
And during the work phase, you will basically allow yourself to have positive feelings towards yourself and the offender,
Mm.
because that's what you're working on.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to understand the offender in a new way. Why is she acting that way?
Mm.
Why is
Right.
she treating me that way? Or why is he treating me that way? Maybe, he's immature. Maybe she's jealous of me. Maybe she doesn't, like the way that I'm, moving on with my life. Maybe, as much as I've been abused, I'm positive. I'm raising my kids in a great way. I have a decent job. There's a lot of different dynamics.
Right.
So when you try to understand your offender in a new light, you're not holding on to those negative feelings.
Nice.
You're working towards the deepening phase, and the deepening phase is where you're going to decrease those negative emotions that you have,
Right.
and you're holding on to say, what, I'm not going to forget, but I'm going to let this person know this moving with your lives. And you can decide, okay, whether or not you want to reconcile. And even when you forgive someone, that doesn't mean you have to reconcile with them.
Right.
You can
That's
forgive
true.
people without reconciling.
Right.
Right.
You can
That's a
say,
good point.
yeah, you don't have to
Right.
reconcile. That doesn't mean, okay, that if that person is not a positive influence in your life,
Right.
Then
you
you
don't
keep
need
them
to have
at
them
bay.
in your life. You can forgive them, but leave them at bay.
Yeah.
Right. Beautiful.
Love
You know?
them from a distance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's something I think that we should continue to reiterate,
Mhm.
because I think the forgiveness process is really good. But some people think that when you forgive, then that means it's almost like forgive and forget, or forgive and
Yeah,
then everything goes back to normal. No, it
Right.
doesn't go back to normal, because
yeah,
now you're smarter. You realize that these people,
mhm.
you can still love them, but they don't have to be in your inner circle, because if
Exactly.
they are, they can impact you in a negative way. So
And you can
keep
get
them,
hurt again, and you can get
and
hurt
you can
again. You
get
know what I
hurt
mean? Yeah,
again,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I always say increase your circle of influence as opposed to your circle of concern. Very
Beautiful,
important.
beautiful, sir. Beautifully said.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
So it's,
Yes.
it's all it's all about, letting go of the negative emotions,
Hmm.
because we carry people with us.
Right.
Hmm.
You know,
We
Boy,
do.
that
and
We do.
and
goodness heavy, yeah?
yeah, exactly. And because, forgiveness is always about forgiving yourself too. You have to learn to forgive yourself also. A lot of people can look at the man in the mirror and say, you know what, man, I've made these mistakes. You know what I mean? I need to forgive myself and carry these negative emotions that I'm carrying, because we all make mistakes.
Right. Yeah. It's true.
And that's to address, Tiger saying that, a lot of people don't believe in therapy. That's true. As I said, I've been doing this work for a long time, and again, now I see more men in therapy.
Wow.
Before, really, you really used to
Yeah,
see
very, yeah.
men in therapy. You see more men in therapy now, because men are a lot of men are trying to be more introspective and work on issues, because our egos, don't allow us sometimes to seek help, you know, because, we think that, we can do it on our own, men are always trying to prove that they're men, while you women were taught how to be introspective and to be in your feelings and understand your feelings. So,
Correct. And I want to ask you, how
sure.
do we forgive those that don't recognize they hurt us?
By again, getting an understanding of sometimes if you have the type of relationship or you feel that you have the tools to communicate with the individual, to get an
Okay.
understanding of why did you do this to me, why did you say this about me, sometimes we have it, there's something that we do when we work with people who are sexual offenders, we cause there's something called reveal, okay, where we make them somehow, communicate with their victims,
Right.
and the victim try to get an understanding, why did you do this to me, what is your background, what is your lifestyle, what is happening, what got into your head, to say this about me or to do this to me. Sometimes you will get a response and you could have that type of communication, sometimes you would not. Sometimes what would happen is that the person will want to talk because they think that they are right. So you have to understand that too. Oh man, this individual cannot see beyond their nose, really. They can only see, they think that they are right all the time with what they say or do. So sometimes
Right.
you say, you know what? Let me just let go of this individual and understand that that's how she or he is,
Yes.
and I'm gonna just leave them out of my life. But what I'm not gonna allow them to do is control my thought process.
Right.
So sometimes
So,
we just have to let people go.
yeah. So, how do we go about not holding on to grudges over time? Because forgiving is one thing, but
Yeah.
sometimes, people have grudges. And I mean, they too have to forgive, I'm thinking, but sometimes people just have a grudge. Like sometimes people see you for no reason and just have a grudge against you for maybe the way how you walk or your present, you walk into a room,
And
you know.
Phyllis, you will always have that. Those
Right.
people, those people don't know you. So why are you giving them any power over your thought process? They don't know you. You know what I mean? Some people will even know your name, and they're gonna see you and say, Phyllis, man, you're blonde. They don't like you being blonde, and they don't know you.
It's true.
So why give people power over your thought process that don't even know you, or you don't even know them? A lot of times you would hear people saying, I don't like that person, and when you ask
Right.
them, what's that person's name?
Exactly. They don't even know.
So why give people that kind of power over your thought process if they don't know you and they want to talk? Because everyone talks.
Right.
Everyone, all of us have opinions. We will see people, we will joke around, we will say things, and sometimes you may think it's a joke, but sometimes that's a statement that could hurt someone.
Right.
You see, so we all talk at some time, but again, we make assumptions, and assumptions are not based on any rational information. People assume things about people all the time that is not based on any rational information. So you can't hold a grudge against someone who doesn't really know you.
Right. Okay, so good night, Dr. Ansola. Lesbian is saying sometimes people don't even think that they are hurting you. I do
Yeah,
believe that we have people out there who are emotionless or non-caring, and
yeah,
it's only about them.
yep,
Carrie is saying people will always talk, and June is
yep,
saying that's right, and
yep,
it's true because I try to live my life like, as you say, yesterday is gone, today's here. So
yeah,
I look at the mirror like a
yeah,
red mirror.
yeah,
Why I think it's so small? Because you only need to take snapshots of your life,
exactly,
instead of
exactly.
just holding on to unnecessary hurt and guilt.
And that's why when you look through the windscreen, you can get a broader picture of what your life could be,
Yes.
and the things that you want to achieve, and the things you want to the things that you want to achieve in life. If you're constantly looking in the rearview mirror, most likely you're going to crash because you keep looking backwards all the time. So look forward in terms of the things that you want to achieve, the goals that you want to achieve, and the things that you want to do. Some people, just like how a lot of people like stability in their life, some people chaos is their norm. Some
Yes.
people, when they wake up in the morning,
Yes.
the first thing they think is, okay, how can we hurt someone? And because they're hurt, and hurt
Hurt.
people.
Yeah, because Marina is saying Leslie Grooms, those are the ones with the narcissistic behavior.
Yep,
Lesbian is saying if you are a person who is always in some type of altercation or
Yeah,
always negative, you are a person to be looked at.
yeah,
Don't see the self.
exactly. And sometimes, you may say they don't see themselves, but sometimes they're just seeking attention
Right.
because sometimes they're not getting
Because they have
attention.
a lot of them.
Exactly. They're just looking for to seek attention. And what happens is that they seek attention in a very negative way. So in order to get attention, they go about hurting people unnecessarily.
Can I ask you another question?
Sure.
Does God forgive anything?
As well, that's my belief.
Okay.
That's my belief. But that's a person. That's my belief. You know what I mean? I think, imagine that we live in a world with over 8 billion people, and we all have different fingerprints and we all make mistakes, right? So it's only a higher power who can deal with this world, really. You know,
Right. Nice,
un-
nice, nice.
to understand that people make mistakes, and he gave his only son. Could you imagine a being giving his only son to die for us, to give us grace?
Yeah, I
You know,
know, right?
but because we are human beings and we are infallible and we make mistakes, sometimes we are very ignorant of not wanting to give people grace and not wanting to forgive and not wanting to move on. But again, it's for your personal peace. You know,
Right.
you want to
So
make
when
sure that you're not walking around with grudges, as you say. You want to make
right,
sure that you're not walking around with hate,
free.
because all hate does is poison you.
Right. So there's not a it's a unlimited time of forgiveness. So you can forgive and forgive and forgive unlimited.
Of
There's
course,
no really stopping of the
of course.
forgiveness.
Yep. Because it makes you a happier person. It makes you not carry people with you. As I told you, rents are expensive. You do not want people to rent space in your thought process in a negative way, day in and day out. That's not healthy.
Yeah. Carrie said
Right.
if you see who talking about you all
It
through your life.
reminds me of the story in the Bible when asked, hmm and Jesus said, you if it should forgive 7 times, and he said 77 times. It's like
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's an
Yeah.
of being in the present. It's not a destination; it's a journey. So the forgiveness is kind of a journey because you have to
It's a
constantly
journey.
be in
Exactly.
that present
It's
moment
a
of
it's a
forgiveness,
journey. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you've forgiven because
Yeah.
yeah,
And
right,
because when
right,
when you
because
forgive,
anything can be a trigger that brings you back to
exactly,
where you were.
right,
exactly.
right,
And when you forgive, you understand is that you go into this humble space. And if
right.
you understand humility, is basically making sure that you gain wisdom.
Mm,
When you go in a
Mm,
humble
I love
space, you
that.
invite God into your life. And through humility,
Hmm.
wisdom is gained. So you gain wisdom to know how to deal with people in life. So you're not
I'm
walking
just gonna
around
sleep.
all emotionally, beaten up.
right,
And and getting into this kind of victim complex that
right,
people are saying, oh, they're doing things about you because you know what your goals are in life. You're waking up in the morning, going to work and paying your bills and doing kind of
right,
stuff. So you have to focus on your strengths and not focus on other people's weaknesses.
right. And as Kerry was saying, if you study who talking about you, you will never go through life without it. And he's saying we cannot be ignorant of the devil's devices.
Yep,
Unforgiveness is one of his main devices.
exactly.
Nicole is saying forgiveness doesn't have a number. Kerry is saying so people need to that healing process.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I always say change is a process and it starts today because
exactly. Yeah.
it is a process when we go through life. And sometimes as Philia say, we dealing with different types of people,
Yeah.
personality and different things. It's sometimes it's tough, but as you say, you just have to keep it moving.
And when you work with individuals and you work with people and you know their life story, sometimes people behave in a way because they don't know how to break cycles.
Mm,
Some people grow up in very chaotic environments and that's all they know.
mm,
So chaos is their norm,
wow. That's a
you
good
know,
one.
and just like how a lot of people are fearful of failure, you have a lot of people who are fearful of success because with success comes responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm a good person, what I mean, and I don't know these dynamics and I've never had these dynamics in my life, where would I learn that from?
Right.
And if you're not willing to learn and move on in life and try to find ways, what I mean, to be a better you,
Mm,
you stay in your chaos because
right.
that's what you know.
Right.
And what happened? You end up pushing people away,
Yeah.
and you end up not growing as an individual because as we go through life, basically, we get basically different self-awareness. And some people, they just don't gain any self-awareness. They're
Hmm.
the same way when they're 20 and they're the same way when they're 50. They don't gain any self-awareness. you
For
know?
real.
Yeah,
That's a good one. Nicola said
exactly.
you can't look at a person in the spirit,
Yeah,
you know.
yep,
And he's saying I teach forgiveness on a weekly basis.
yeah,
In the Lord's Prayer, for those who pray, we ask God for forgiveness,
yep,
which He gives.
yeah.
But for those who has trespassed against
So,
us,
yep.
we seek justice.
Exactly. And what Andy's saying there is powerful because the Lord's Prayer is one of the most powerful prayer.
Yeah,
That's why it was given to us by the Lord. You know what I mean? Because forgiveness is an essential component of life.
right,
You know what I mean? Because if you don't learn how to forgive, believe me, there's something that any one of us may do at any given time where we may want forgiveness.
right.
So you can't ask for forgiveness for yourself and don't have the ability to learn that dynamic and be able to forgive people. So teaching that every day, teaching your kids, teaching yourself how
Mhm.
to say the Lord's Prayer is a powerful dynamic.
Right. Wow. This is some good information. I hope
Yeah,
people they're hearing, but I hope they're listening.
yeah, yeah.
Because
As I said, it's a process. I mean, a lot of times, as I said, we just learn. We hear the word all the time. I forgive you. But do people really understand what is the whole process of forgiveness? I forgive you. It's a process. It's not something people just say it blindly. What I mean, people tell you they forgive you, and the next minute they're doing something wrong to you
yeah,
again. What I
true.
mean? So no, you
Yes,
know. But it's
yeah.
about you letting go of negative emotions.
Letting go of negative emotion. I think that is so powerful
Mhm.
because most of the people carry around negative emotion, the
Yeah,
negative on the whole.
yeah.
And they sometimes want to drag you down in that pit that they're going down to.
Hmm.
Also, as you say, we have to surround ourselves and know what we are about, and just you know do some meditating and read so we can acknowledge and be
Yeah.
better people.
Exactly, because those of us who know better sometimes have to try to do better, and sometimes, instead of looking down at someone, sometimes what we have to do is look down and help building up. Because sometimes people just need a good word. They just need a healthy conversation with someone who knows better. You know, so you can communicate and say, you know what, man, what you're doing is wrong. Always make sure that you have people in your life who you can listen to.
Right. That's a good one.
Because we're not always right in all instances, and a lot of times we have people who we don't want to listen. It's always my way or the highway, and
Right.
we don't want to listen to anyone else because we
Right.
think that everything that we do is right. Now, and I've been guilty of that. I mean that the fact that sometimes you feel like you're right. No, you're not right all the time. You're wrong sometimes. And learning to say, okay, I forgive you, and I truly forgive you. It's a
Right.
very important dynamic to really have in life. So,
That,
Very good point. Thank you so much for sharing that.
yeah.
yes. Nicole is saying, just as we desire God's forgiveness, so
Hmm.
shall we be able to forgive.
Exactly.
And Wakanda forever, Philip. Thank you for um, that's my African brother, okay? Um, Nicole saying that's why
Mm,
communication is key. Sometimes
Yeah,
we hurt people unknowingly, and we should never be too soon to say sorry. And that is the same point
mm,
Lesbian was making
yeah,
earlier on.
yeah. Because fellas and fella, what we have to learn in life is that a lot of times when we communicate, we have to communicate from using the word I,
Okay,
instead of you. Because a lot of times when you say you comes across as blaming. Okay,
right,
this is how I feel about a situation.
right.
This is what I think. So that opens up a space for dialogue. You
right.
know, a lot of times when you start up a conversation with you did this, you did that,
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
you don't open up a space for dialogue. But when you say I, this is how I
Take
feel.
ownership.
You take an ownership of what you're saying, and you may not be right. So
Right,
when you use those I statements, you have to be prepared to get some constructive criticism because it might be your feeling, but that
right,
doesn't mean your feeling is right all the time.
right. I
Good
think
point.
I think that's some real good points that you gave us tonight. As you see, people loving the topic. I hope you do not be a stranger to Motivational Monday, you
Okay.
know, because this program is about each one teach one. We come on
Yes.
here and we want to do better in our daily walks of life.
Mhm.
because
Yes,
every
amen.
day we touching lives, whether in whatever jobs we have, we touching lives, you
Yeah.
know. So we have to be walking the walk and talking it too. You
Mhm.
understand?
Yeah.
Nicole said we should be able to see our own fault. Same thing as you're saying.
Yeah.
I just always say we all fall short of the glory of the Lord. None of
Yeah.
us are perfect. So
Of
every
course.
day is a learning, a learning. You're climbing that stairs, climbing that stairs.
Yeah.
And they're saying people are easily offended because we always want to be right. I teach the verbiage. Have you considered this open up a conversation dialogue,
Yeah.
saying you don't have to be right.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
You
and
know?
he's right. He's right. You don't have to be right in everything, you know what I mean? But a lot of us, again, because especially because of our egos, we want to think that we are right all the time. I mean,
Right.
and a lot of times we don't want to change. But you have to remember this: what you're not changing, you're choosing.
Wow. I
Wow,
love that.
that is good.
That
What
is
you're not
great.
changing, you're
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 choosing.
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 Yeah,
Got you.
Oh, that is
Nice.
powerful.
yeah,
Very
And with
powerful
that
statement.
now, that is for people to go out there and
yeah,
And do
vote.
something
yeah,
about
Go
exactly.
something.
out
Right.
there and vote.
Yeah.
Right.
I
I
love
love
it.
that.
Hmm.
That was
I love
good.
that. Wow. That's really great. That
Eagle,
definitely resonates.
Eason. Oh, Andy put an acronym for here. Eagle, Eason got out.
I like that. Tell him I'm going to use that.
Yes, yes, Eason got out. Um,
Exactly. Yep.
Philip is saying, what you are not changing, you are choosing. Yeah,
Mhm.
yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is good. We love
Yep.
that one.
Hmm.
I will use that.
Yep.
So we have a segment here. It's called Ditch It or Keep It. So
Okay.
this now will give us a little more idea to get to know you. So
Okay.
number one, Philly, I didn't Snapchat it, so I'll just run it down, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So bacon saltfish or bacon shark?
Bacon saltfish.
All
Okay.
right.
Curry goat or curry chicken?
Both.
Soca music or reggae music?
Soca all the way. Soca all
Soca
night.
all the way. Kitty kitty boom.
River water or salt water?
Salt.
Okay. Borrow day or Easter Monday?
Oh gosh, another tough one. But Barode, I'm a Barode. I'm a Barode king.
All right. Lord Nelson or Super Blue?
Oh Jesus Christ, the greatest entertainer in the world, Super Blue.
All right. Clifton Hill or Las Cuevas?
Clifton Hill.
Boy, he's a real point
Eyes
man.
up point, man. You know that.
Salif or Desperados?
Despas.
Okay. New York or Florida?
Oh God, Florida.
Eh.
Eh,
Vodka or Hennessy?
vodka.
All right. Curry crab and dumpling or oil down with pigtail?
Oh jeez. Oil down with pigtail.
Mhm.
I'm a bit Solon Rasta. I'm not a real Rasta.
Stew oxtail or stew chicken?
Oxtails.
All right. Currant roll or coconut roll?
Current roll.
Black cake or sponge cake?
Sponge cake.
Dress up or dress down?
I love dressing up.
Yeah, BMW or Mercedes Benz?
Mercedes all the way.
Eh.
All
And
right.
the last one, Christmas or New Year's?
Give me Christmas anytime.
All right.
Mhm.
That's great.
So,
Thank
guys,
you.
here you had it with Mr. Callender coming on here, Motivational Monday. You know, the
Yes.
hour just flies so fast.
Yes,
It
it does.
does.
Oh,
It does. But it's so
please.
entertaining and you're so versed and
Yeah.
experienced and knowledgeable. So thank you for sharing
Exactly, and I just
your
and I just I
knowledge.
just want to I just want to kind of end on this note that I mean I work on a platform called BetterHelp.com.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for anyone that is looking for to work on their issues, you can. And I also have a small private practice that I do on Google Meet. So
Nice.
if you're looking at people, people looking to get help, they can get me. As I said, I'm a licensed therapist. My job is not a job; it's my passion. So I love people, and this is what I do for a living. Okay, so working
I'm
with people.
sorry. Do you take all insurances or is
I
private?
no, it's private. I do private, and
Okay.
I do but I work on a sliding scale. So I work in terms of people's whatever their
Neat.
budget basically
Okay.
is. So,
That's good to know. Thank you
okay.
so
All right.
much.
Okay,
God
you're
bless you.
welcome.
Dr. Ansula is asking, we need to live in the solution and not the problem. And he
Exactly.
wants to know, where is Mr. Callender from? Could you tell him?
Okay, I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, a small village called Vance River between Point Fortin and La Brea. And as I said, I got myself educated in New York City. I'm living in Orlando, Florida right now. And I usually practice online. And as I said, I'm an independent contractor with BetterHelp. And I'm also have a small private practice.
Yes,
Nice.
and he's based in Orlando right now, but I
Mhm.
just put the website betterhelp.com.
BetterHelp.com, yeah.
Yeah, better HELP.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. All right. So it's betterhelp.com.
Help.
Help.
Nice.
Yeah. You can read my profile. You can see, how my style, how I work, and you realize that I'm very successful on this platform.
I'll just type in it for them here. Hold on. Okay, guys. So you can reach out to him um, at betterhelp.com. If you need his number, or if he has a different number, I
No,
can.
you could give her that number. You could
Yeah,
give them my number.
I
That's
can
my
give
personal
you
number.
the number. You can call him. Dr. Asula is saying, I know that spot in Vance River.
Yeah.
I think he's a point man too.
Okay. Okay.
Dr. Andy Asula. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ansola.
Okay. Yeah.
So thank you again, Larry. I know
Okay.
you're a busy man. Thank you
Hmm.
for hanging with us.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
before we close off, you have anything else to add?
No, I just want to say it was a pleasure doing this. I really enjoy this and reaching out to people. And, I just want people to know, especially men, there's no shame and seeing someone objectively. Okay, all therapy is talking to someone objectively, so you can get the answers that you're looking for, so you can find ways to help
Mhm.
yourself to kind of somehow control your situation and become a better version of yourself. Okay, so don't
And
ever be ashamed to talk to anyone objectively. Okay.
All
yes.
right.
Well, guys, there you have it. Mr. Andy is from Faizabad.
Yeah.
Wait, ask if he ever thought of sharing back a Yankee fet.
Yeah, that's something we could talk about.
Yeah, laughing out loud. So Larry, again, thanks
Yeah.
again, and
Okay.
for being a guest here.
Yeah.
And don't be a stranger.
I will try not to be. I really enjoyed it. I will come on again and talk about different topics at some point. All right? Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. Take care, fella. Nice to
All
meet
right.
you. Yeah.
Okay.
Bye
All
bye.
right,
Thank
guys. There
you.
you have it. You have
Yes, thank you.
you get some great information. So
Excellent.
guys, put it again. If you need to talk to him, let me know. Betterhelp.com, and we talking to the experts. And I
All
love how
right.
you put it, just simple, simple,
Simple.
simple,
Simply stated.
simple stated. Is
Yes.
no if, must, or be, maybe. Sometimes you watch a person and they may look simple, but they're very powerful.
Right.
And that's what we get this
That's
afternoon.
what we have.
Huh? Yeah. All right.
Thank
So,
you.
love in the house, everybody. Have a blessed
Yes.
and wonderful and safe week. Myself and my niece and Anthony will be in Virginia Beach Carnival this weekend. Come on down. It's a 6 hour, 7 hour drive. Love in the
Yes.
house always. Don't forget barbecue blessing 20 years anniversary on the 24th of August.
All
Branching
right.
Around the World is coming up. My friend Donada, please come out, support the cause. Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right.